now. Welcome everyone to this quarter's new features webinar. If you don't know us, I'm Haley Whitworth and I am over education and content, and joined with me is Chris Dolan, and he heads up product and strategy here at TouchPoint.
Hey everyone.
And so we will be trying to take some of your questions as well. So there's a Q&A option in the Zoom panel. So as we go through this webinar, feel free to submit your questions, and we'll be trying to get to those as the webinar continues. We do have quite a bit to get through in this webinar. We're going to be talking about web enhancements, mobile updates, and then what's on the roadmap.
Yeah, and just so it's clear, in case this is one of your first new features webinars that you're joining us, we do these quarterly, which means that this is all the work that either has been done or released over the last quarter. And so most of these things have been released, but there's a few things, and as we get to those slides, we will talk about there's a few things that are going to be released in our next release, which is planned to come out next week. And so there's some very exciting things, some of which you've heard about or seen some glimpses of. And then there's things that we're working on that we'll cover in our next new features webinar that we'll talk about kind of at the end here as well. So that's the time period, is the Q2 essentially. All
right. And if you are not already subscribed to our blog, please do so. You can see the URL down there, touchpointsoftware.com/subscribe to blog. So that way you will stay in the loop anytime we make a blog post about a feature update or an enhancement. You'll stay in the loop, you'll stay in the know about all of those. All right, so for web features, Chris, I'm kicking it off to you.
Speaking of blog posts, we really mean subscribe to that, because there's some really important updates, including one that's going to go out next week about grades. So you've probably seen and heard or read about the enhancements we made over the last quarter related to grade. There are some changes that are coming next week to this, not changes, but some further enhancements to this. So the big change that we made is that we added a new grade field. You can still see the legacy grade field there in this screenshot. That you can hide that if you no longer need it. There's a setting to turn that off. At some point, we will be turning that off for all churches, but not for a while. We're going to let you kind of decide when to do that. And what we changed is that we've standardized the way grade works. And there's a few benefits for this. Primarily, the way legacy grade worked, not everybody got a grade, and grade only updated when you did promotion. Now grade is going to update for everybody once a year. And so you might be wondering, or maybe even panicking a little bit, I've already updated my grades for this year. If you've done that, that's totally fine. We're going to be sending out a blog post next week that outlines exactly what you need to know about this, including if you want to update your grade this year, what you need to do that. There's even options or ways that if in future years you weren't quite ready to do it yet or wanted to do that manually, you could. But the benefit of doing this is that the kids that maybe aren't no longer enrolled in a class will automatically get promoted, which is a great thing, because there are certain milestones in a person's life that you have a natural chance to kind of reach back out to them. Say, when somebody enters kindergarten or 6th grade or 9th grade, or when they graduate from high school. And so this prevents those people from falling through the cracks, because the grade will be automatically updated every year. So there's some other things coming this week around updated reports. There's going to be some new reports that you'll hear about next quarter. There's a lot around grades. So if you haven't taken advantage of this, learn this, look out for the blog post next week. It's a really great benefit here. The next piece here is a classroom dashboard. If you haven't been using this, highly recommend it. It's a really great tool for your teachers, your volunteers of your children's ministry or other classes. And there are some major enhancements that are actually coming to this next week in our rollout, including what you see here on this page. We're going to be sorting the page for on the way. That is the section where when somebody checks in, they show up in that section. And it allows you to, the staff or volunteer, to know, oh, these people have checked in, but they're on their way. So they can be greeted by name. And then when you click on that person to bring them into the class, it's just a simple box to say, yes, they're here. You have the ability to add a temporary note. And then they show up in the present list. And then that present list is a true accurate count of who is there in the class. And there's some really great tools that you'll have available to you, including checkout, editing the note, messaging parents, even the ability to move a kid to a different class. If say you needed to combine two classes, or the Sunday school hour is over and you need to send all the kids to the kind of late parent pickup room, you have the ability to do that, plus more. So really great tool here. It's available. Haley's going to talk about it in the mobile app. It's a really great, powerful thing. Check out the enhancements that are coming next week. And I would encourage you to talk to your children's ministry staff about using this. Next is checkout. Many people are already using checkout. You probably don't call it checkout, but you're using the labels, the security label, to match up to the child's label. That is technically checkout. We have rolled out one way, and we're rolling out another way to do checkout. The first way we've rolled out is so that you no longer need those security labels. And that's where you've seen some new labels show up in your database that don't have the security code. And parents can show the QR code from the mobile app. And the teacher can scan that using a scanner within the mobile app to check the child out. There's some security benefits of this around being able to see, like, have authorized checkout people. So and it also records the date and timestamp and who checked the person out. So if you ever need to look back in the database and see who checked the person out on this date, you can see that. The new way is what I've already shown a glimpse of, which is in the classroom dashboard. You'll be able to check kids out through that. And it shows a photo there so you can identify. It's showing anybody that's authorized to check out, which by default is parents, secondary adults, kids over the age of 18. You can adjust that limit and then authorize checkout people. So there's a blog post documentation coming on all of this, and you might want to consider using a new form of checkout. It could save you from the number of labels you're having to use, but also provides a new, more secure way of managing your children's ministry area. Next is check-in options. As you all know, when a new person walks in and they are trying to find the appropriate class, currently we have the option to filter classes by date of birth, but we are now adding the ability to also filter them by grade. And so here in this little GIF, you can actually see where you can change something to a grade and you can adjust the grade for that involvement. And so that will allow you to more quickly and easily get the right people into the right classes. Of course, if the right classes don't show up based on your filtering results, you still will have the show all option in check-in. But this is a great way to help further kind of pare down that list so that you're getting the right people in the right classes. And the lastly thing I will mention before I turn it over to Haley is that we have been making a lot of infrastructure changes. You've heard us talk about Microsoft Azure and our move over to that over the last few years. We are taking advantage of some of their new cloud tools that will allow better scalability and reliability, particularly for like peak performance times. And so we have been re-architecting pieces and moving things over. So if you're familiar with some of the morning batch processes, if you see those running at some odd times right now, some of that is because we've been doing some of those a little bit manually while we re-architect that, but that is all about to be, a lot of that's done, and there's a few more things that we're still doing, but it's all to basically make the system fast, reliable, scalable, dependable when you need it most. And so we are committed to that and been working on a lot of kind of architecture infrastructure pieces to make sure that we provide a system you can trust and rely on. So Haley, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. So the volunteer scheduler, we are steadily making progress towards a full release of the scheduler. Our beta testers have been tremendously helpful. We have made modifications thanks to their feedback. And we've really been taking their suggestions and fixing any issues that they have been having. So we're working on a rollout plan for this, a full rollout plan. You should hear in the coming weeks when it will be available to all churches. And additionally, if you are planning on coming to Summit, we're going to feature the scheduler in one of our breakout sessions as well. So we're looking at the involvement tab access and visibility. We're specifically looking in the lookup codes here. And so this menu now controls what is visible for involvement leaders and for my data users. We can specify the order. You can see the sort order there. So we can specify the order in which the involvement appears. And of course, we can still customize the involvement tab even further by going into the involvement tab editor. So that's new and helpful. And tasks and notes enhancement. So if you are subscribed to our blog, then you probably saw a recent post about my action required. And so we now have this button that allows us to easily locate just my tasks. And we also have quick actions on the right-hand side. You can probably see the buttons there for accept and decline. And so those are quick actions that you no longer have to go to the menu just to quickly accept or decline a task. All right, Chris, one-page forms.
All right. Yes, you have heard about one-page forms. I think we talked about it as something that's coming from our last new features webinar. And this week we are rolling out the last few little tweaks and changes to that. And we are going to be going into a more of an open beta for that this summer and having this live for all churches soon after that. So it's a really beautiful tool. It allows you to select the kind of required fields at the top. All your custom questions show up there. You can make a payment all right there on the page. It works with register links. It works beautifully in the mobile app. Really simplifies the registration process, and we're excited to get this in your hands very soon. Next thing is status flags. You heard us talk about this on the last new features webinar, is getting a whole new makeover, including the ability to create as many status flags as you want. And it's super easy to do now. As you see, you just check a box. You can put in there the run order. This is important if you have status flags that are dependent on other status flags. You can select the color of the status flag. In fact, not only that, the additional badges at the top where you have your membership status and campus and some of those can also, you can edit the colors on those as well. And we have picture borders. So if you don't want a badge with the name, you can actually use a picture border. And there's some really creative uses that we're seeing for that. As simple as, I just want a quick indicator of what campus somebody's in. So you could have different campuses for different colors, all the way down to, we have people that we want it very apparent to our staff that these people are security risk or something. And so we want to put a red circle around those people's profile. So it doesn't say security risk, but our staff will know that that's what that means. All the way down to some other safer things, like when somebody's background check is expired or their MinistrySafe class is expired, maybe you put a yellow ring around them, and then they see that when they check in and they know, oh, that's an indicator that I need to resubmit a background check or go through my MinistrySafe certification again. So just a few creative ideas there, but status flags is getting a whole makeover, and this will be out next week. We're really excited to be releasing that. And built right on top of that is engagement scores. And so this is going to be released at the same time. And so this is actually a real image from one of our databases where you can actually measure engagement over time using those status flags. And so if you didn't see last month's webinar, I highly encourage you to check that out. Gives you a lot more detail here. And we'll be talking about this over the coming months and a lot at Summit. So if you're not signed up for Summit yet, highly encourage you to sign up for Summit, because we will be talking about engagement scores. And this is really the tool that helps you identify people before they fall through the cracks. We've all been there when you walk, you're walking around the supermarket and you run into the person and you say, oh, hey, how are you? I haven't seen you at church in a while. And they say, yeah, you actually haven't seen me in a year. Thanks for noticing. That is the awkward conversation that the engagement tool is supposed to help you prevent, because it will help you identify those changes in engagement before it's too late and the person has already left your church. And so these changes in engagement usually are also indicators that something is going on in their life. They had a death in the family, or somebody lost their job, or maybe their marriage is struggling. how much better would it be if you had tools to actually see the change in that engagement so that you can reach out to those people proactively and minister them at their greatest time of need? So this is a really cool tool. We're very excited about it. And there will be more that you'll be hearing about over the coming weeks and months, but it's going to be live next week. And
right.
Haley, yep.
Just some other miscellaneous enhancements. So the check-in screen text to display. So instead of enter your phone number, which is what we're familiar with, we can customize the text to read something different, or we can remove the text altogether. Check-in restricted to IP. So there's a new administrative setting that allows you to restrict access to check-in to only your network if you have a static public IP address. This setting does support a comma separated list, so you can add multiple IP addresses to support various locations. New check-in label options. So we have new label options available for web check-in, and many of these are created in support of the new checkout feature. And some have also been created by partner churches just requesting them as well. Enhancements to the changelog on a person. So there are certain things like emergency contact that we can now update easily at check-in. And so we made it to where those are able to easily be tracked. Alt name replacement code is what it sounds like. We now have an email replacement code that allows us to address someone by the alternative name that is listed inside of TouchPoint. And TouchPoint tab on businesses. So you spoke and we heard you. We heard that there is a use case, there's a need for having the TouchPoints tab on a business record. And so we have added that back in. Managed giving export. So on the managed giving page, we now have an export to Excel button. So people have asked to be able to slice and dice the data. So we've made it available so that you're able to do that. Vital stats restricted by a role. Again, pretty self-explanatory. We heard that you would like to be able to limit the visibility of the vital stats report. So we can now restrict that to a particular role. Hide comments tab. So comments may not be as needed since we have tasks and notes. So we've given you the option to hide the comments tab using an admin setting. We also have some additional tabs that are going to be coming to a people record as we roll out the process builder, for example, and engagement. So we just need to make more room on the people record for those tabs that are going to get created. Member docs tab consolidated. So, along those lines, the documents tab is merging with the member tab. So now you're going to find the member documents that was on its own tab. It's now on the same sub tab on that member sub tab. Mission trip setting. So there is a new setting that affects mission trips that allows you to raise beyond your goal. And then custom access role setting for address. On an involvement, you can now hide the address to restrict the visibility of that additional personal information from a lay leader if you want or need to do that. All right, now we're going to be moving into the mobile app. And so registration updates, we have a new layout for registrations in the mobile app. So you can upload an image and a description. The way this is managed has all improved. So if you missed a recent blog about that, you can check out the blog to learn more. Checkout scanner. So you heard Chris talk about this a minute ago. We have several ways that we're going to be supporting checkout. And so another option to what he mentioned is using a QR code. And in our July webinar, we're going to be discussing checkout specifically. and the classroom dashboard. So it's available inside of the mobile app now. As you saw already, it has a new look. It boasts some new features. We're really excited about this. If you haven't been using the classroom dashboard yet, we really encourage you to check it out. It's a wonderful, wonderful new feature that just is really packed with a lot of benefits for the churches. And in-app video supported. So this is pretty much what it sounds like. Videos can now play within the mobile app instead of launching to another player. So we support HLS for live streaming, and then for non-live streaming, MP4 and M3U8, which is developed in our next release. And so a few other things here, the campus label. If you are a multi-site church and you want the campus label to show in the people search inside of the mobile app, let support know. That's now possible. And deep links. So we've received requests for additional deep links, and those are now supported. So check out our documentation to learn more about those. The grade feature you've heard Chris talk about. So we've updated the mobile app to use the new grade field. So if your congregants are updating their profile, they can now ensure that their grade is accurate as well. Updated sign-in language. So we've just tweaked the language a little bit to make it clearer. And hopefully that makes it easier for people to get signed in and get connected. And then the volunteer scheduler, similar to how directories work, under the involvement menu, people can now manage volunteer commitments in the mobile app.
All right, so that is a lot on mobile, and we are already ready for our next release. It's not going to be quite as big as our last one that had some pretty cool features, but we are excited about a few of the things that, or at least this next one is really, I think, really a cool one. And that is that group messaging is going into beta. So if this is something you're interested in, we're open to taking a few more beta churches on this. And group messaging will be available. It's basically an involvement setting that you can turn on that will allow any members of that involvement to chat with each other through the mobile app. And most of the other enhancements related to this this new release that should be coming out over the next couple of weeks are a little bit smaller, and I'll go through that list. So there are some UI UX enhancements. We're tweaking some layouts of some things just to tighten things up and make it a little prettier. There's some there's a lot of backend updates, things that are required by Apple or Google that we're doing to improve performance, make sure that it works on the latest OSs, because they are constantly making tweaks and requirements. So there's a lot of backend things that we've been working on. There's going to be a search bar on the attendance page. And the last thing is something that Apple is requiring against all their apps, which is the ability for users to be able to request account deletion. And let me mention and talk about that just for a second. We are going to be releasing a blog post that gives you kind of some instructions for what this means. They're not requiring that user accounts get deleted, but we have to be able to request for that to be done. And you as a staff, as a church, have to actually take actions with that. And so this is going to be a task that will be assigned to the new people manager that basically we recommend you reach out to that person and understand what they're requesting and what they're asking, because a lot of people, when they do request account deletion, they don't understand what that fully means. And if somebody is a member or has given or things like that, then there are certain things that are lost with that. And then we have a list of recommendations based on what that person says of how you are to proceed. But this is something that a lot of the tech companies, and it's not a US regulation, but you're probably familiar with GDPR, which is over the EU. It would not surprise me if some of those regulations roll out into the United States over the next several years. So this is kind of the forefront of that, which is allowing people to have access and control over their data. And so we have recommendations for how to do that, where you don't lose the history, but it allows you to have, if somebody really wants to take that action to remove themselves, then they are able to do that. And so watch out for that blog post and the actions that you might need to take related to that. And now it's time to talk about the future. So there's one thing that I'm sure many of you have been asking about, and it is actually in the very near future. The next thing is related to the MinistrySafe integration. We've actually made a lot of progress on this. It's not going to be in our next release, so we're going to be talking about it in our next quarter, but it will be released before our next quarter. It'll be live actually, hopefully, if everything goes as planned, in late July. We have already done the background checks integration, which included some changes at the top where you'll see like the ability to track last class and status code on that. We're combining credit checks up into that. And now we are working on the integration component of the actual classes that you can send somebody and make them go through, the abuse prevention trainings, essentially. So that last piece is being worked on now. And once it gets through testing and our QA processes, will be released to everybody. So we're excited to get that in y'all's hands, but that is a future thing. The next thing, and before Haley changes the slide, this is something I know many of you have been anticipating for a very long time, and we are very excited. I told you, I think on the last new features webinar, that we're going to actually show some things. We've made a lot of progress on this, and so we're very excited about this next slide. And Haley, you can go ahead and share it, which is processes and automations. You heard it. Yes, you are going to be able to automate actions, and automations that are basically stacked make up a process. So a process is essentially a series of multiple automations, and an automation is basically a trigger with an action. So a triggering event, like registering for an event or completing a task or a note about somebody, or there's lots of different actions that could trigger something to be automated. And then you will have the ability to automate things like sending emails, sending text messages, adding people to involvements, updating people's records, all kinds of things. We have plans to integrate this into the mobile app with various things. So there's some really cool things. And what you're seeing here is actually live development that is in the background. It's actually released. A lot of this is released on every database. We're releasing even more next week. It's all hidden behind some settings, so you don't have access to it, unfortunately. But we are testing this in live environments and chipping away at this. We're making really good progress, and we're very excited about the way it's coming together. It's super easy to use, a lot of drag and drop functionality, very visual, where you can see the different numbers and how somebody's progressing through the process. What you're seeing there with task and notes is actually somebody completing a task, and as soon as that task is completed, a new task automatically pops up in that process. So it's actually showing that something is automatically happening, and it's literally instantaneous. So we are very excited about this tool, and you will hear more about this. Another shameless plug for Summit. We are launching this at Summit. We're going to be doing training sessions at Summit. If you are not registered for Summit, we highly encourage you to check this out. Be with us in Austin. It's going to be a great time. We have a lot of fun. We dive deep into the product, and this is going to be a big centerpiece of the summit this year. So please don't miss that. 3 more things I'll mention real quick that I'm not going to share any screenshots of. We are dreaming and designing the kind of future of our mobile app. The way I like to describe this is we have a very powerful tool belt of our mobile app, and we are trying to take that to the next level and make it a very proactive, very engaging app with a feed where instead of having to go look for those tools, that those tools can know when you would need them and proactively maybe send somebody a notification or have a feed that would be really engaging for people to go back to on a regular basis. And so we are in the design phases on that, and you'll be hearing more about that at Summit as well. So another reason to come if you want to hear about mobile app 3.0. And these last 2 things are some benefits that we're already talking about related to our new parent company, CAS Information Systems. So CAS owns a bank, CAS Commercial Bank, and many of you are familiar with the tool that we have called Remote Deposit Capture, where you are able to scan your checks into TouchPoint and record them right to a person's record, and you have the images stored there. Beautiful tool. It works really great. One of the challenges is that you have to export that file and upload it to your bank, and not all banks have the capabilities to do that. CAS does. And so we are going to actually simplify that process, reduce a few steps where you can literally scan the checks, close out that, and hit deposit, and it will deposit right into a CAS commercial bank account. So really great feature. It'll save your finance team a lot of time and energy, And we're really excited about this very real tool that we're going to be developing over the next quarter. The last thing I'll mention, there's lots more that we're actually developing. I'm just giving you kind of some snapshots of some things that are coming that we'll be talking about on the next new quarter, next new features webinar, and we'll be talking about at Summit. But the last one is integrated payments. So we are going to have the ability to integrate payments deeply into TouchPoint. And what does that mean for you? That means that there will be better reconciliation ports. There will be better analytics and tools provided available to that. Some of these things will be available to some of our other payment processors. Some will not, because they're deeper integrations that are available because we have control over both the front end and the back end with our new relationship with CAS Information Systems and Give. So you're in no way going to be obligated to change over to this. We hope to be able to match, or if not beat, your current processing rates and show you the reasons why this would be a really beneficial tool for you. And we will be talking about this over the coming months as we work on that integration that can save your staff time and energy and save your church money. So we're really excited to be offering integrated payments as part of TouchPoint. So I think that's it. Haley, you want to talk? I know I've mentioned Summit a few times. Anything special that we have going on?
We sure do. So yes, we have been talking about Summit. We're all very excited about Summit. It's going to be here before we know it. So we've got, as Chris has mentioned, we've got a lot of really exciting sessions planned, and we can't wait to see everybody in person. If you missed the early bird pricing, no need to worry. We are offering a discount for this weekend only. You can save $15 off of your Summit ticket price by using the code features. So use the discount code features during the registration. And so this is going to apply for registrations that are completed today through Tuesday, July 5th only. So take advantage of this while it lasts. And
Awesome.
looks like we've got some questions in here.
We've got some great ones here, Haley. I might knock out a few real quick related to grade. Do you mind if I hop in? So people are asking, will the new grade field be available in the customized reports? Yes, and that will be coming this week. So not only in our standard reports are going to be updated to use the new grade field, and the grade field will also be available in the custom reports. So great question. What if records haven't been updated in several years? This is a really, a very serious thing, and it's why we put a lot of thought and energy into grade, because we realized that people were not updating this grade field, and it wasn't as useful for churches as we wanted it to be. So you have the ability to mass update the grade field using the mass update tool. We highly recommend that you try and update as many of those people as you can. If grades are not accurate or you don't know who those are, maybe set them to unknown, and then people can update that through the mobile app. You can also update the grade through a registration. So you can have, add that as a standard question to your registrations. You need to think through that now, because you want to be asking, like, what is your current grade? So if you're asking that question around the summertime, you need to make sure you take into consideration when the auto update will happen, so that you're asking that in a way that parents aren't going to answer and say what the grade is going to be in the fall, unless you've already done the promotion for the year, and then you want to ask it that way. So think about how you want to ask that question related to grade. But yeah, those are, I think, the two questions related to grade. And I'll look down through this, Haley, if you want to
Yes, I see one here. Are the check-in features just covered, available now, such as changing the text on the screen and the label options? So changing the text on the screen is going to come in the next release. And same thing with the labels, correct, Chris? Or are the labels are?
The labels many of them are already available, but not all of the checkout fees. The checkout through the mobile app is available, but the other checkout through the classroom dashboard's not. But you don't need that one through the classroom dashboard. But yes, the labels are available, but the label of the check-in screen is coming this week. Great question about the classroom dashboard from a hardware perspective. How do you imagine doing that? So somebody's asking, do you imagine churches buying or investing in tablets that stay in the room, or volunteers doing it on their phone? It is available through the mobile app, and you just have to have check-in as we turned on for that involvement. And the person logged into the mobile app has to be a leader of the involvement. To use some of the features like checkout or moving, you actually have to have a new role called checkout. So you can't, there is some security protections around that you might not give that to all of your volunteers. But we've tried to make it available through the mobile app so that you're not having to invest in additional hardware or technology. If you do want to use the existing iPads, there's some ways that I'll make sure is in one of the blog posts and documented, where you can basically bookmark links to the involvements, and there's a unique link for each involvement that will pull the latest classroom dashboard for that day. And so you can just have a generic login for that would have all of the links available. And that's what I would recommend if you're going to use tablets or something. But we've tried to make it so that you don't need to buy additional hardware, but if you do, there is a way to accommodate that. And similar to this, people are asking, are these enhancements available in the standard app or just the custom app? To my knowledge, and if you find something that's not, do let me know. To my knowledge, everything that I've talked about on this webinar should be available, with the exception of some of the media stuff, I guess. But classroom dashboard will be available. The checkout will be available. If there's any specific things, feel free to chime in, but they should be available through through the non-custom app, with the exception of some of the media things and some of the things related. Registrations won't be available through that because that's related to tiles. But anything that's in that kind of standard menu under the hamburger menu is available in the free app, and that includes the classroom dashboard and checkout primarily. Haley, you want to chime in, or I can keep going?
Looking through.
Comments to notes. Great question here. We are basically, I don't think we have basically what I would recommend with that, if you're wanting to keep those comments that are in there, is to do an export of those. And there's ways to do that I'll make sure we have some kind of a document or blog put out in the coming weeks, where you can export those, and then you can use the notes import tool to basically import those as notes so that they don't get lost. What might be tricky is that some churches were using this and recording lots of notes with lots of like little details, and that might take some work to kind of parse out that data in a way that's importable, or you can just import it all as kind of one generic note. It's up to you, but that is a great question. If you are or have been using the comments tab, you don't want to lose that data, but we also don't want to leave it there where staff are tempted to put notes there, because they really should be using the notes tool, which syncs beautifully with our mobile app. If you aren't using that, it's a really powerful tool to be able to do task and notes through the mobile app, and we'd encourage you to use that.
There is one person that's asking for more information on the custom mobile app. Do you want to share 30 seconds on the custom app?
Yeah, the custom mobile app is basically, you have the ability to have your own logo. You have the ability to brand it your own way, name it. It'll be in the App Store. They're not downloading the TouchPoint app, but they're downloading the app for your church. And so there's a lot of features that everything that's in the free app is in the TouchPoint custom branded app. And if you'd like more information on that, you can reach out to support. They can connect you with one of our sales folks that can help you get connected to that. It might be, for some churches, it depends on your church size. The bigger you are, it's actually included in your pricing, but there are some additional fees for some of the smaller churches, unfortunately, because there's some management and setup that needs to go into that. But we try to keep that cost as low as possible for you, and happy to take that conversation offline if you want to learn more about the custom app.
I'm looking to see, we have one person asking about how many app courses we have at Summit. And so I was just trying to look and see really quickly. I know at least 2 that we will have at Summit.
And for that person, there might not be things a lot specific to the app, but there are a lot of things related to communications. There's a ministry track. Our summit is not just for the database manager. We actually have a finance track, an XP track, a ministry kind of frontlines track. So it's beneficial for several of your staff, especially those that are really power users of TouchPoint. They don't have to be an admin of the system to be able to go to TouchPoint. We see churches that will bring whole teams of people, and there's a lot of benefits for several of not everybody on your staff, but a lot of people on your staff, especially the more they interact with TouchPoint, could really benefit from Summit.
And even just to, add to that, for example, the finance track that we have, well, we have, sessions that are going to be beneficial for like your finance director. There's one session in particular, about like increasing generosity at your church. And we also have sessions that are going to be beneficial for the finance admins as well. So, even within the finance track itself, people in various roles that just kind of work in that department will find something beneficial for them.
Yeah, we've got some great questions. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get to them all, but I'll try to answer this one last one here. We have someone asking about the new volunteer scheduler. There's a lot of things we try to accomplish with this new volunteer scheduler, including it's no longer Sunday centric. So if you have events throughout the week, you can do ad hoc events a lot easier in this schedule. You can have multiple layers. So if you have like a Sunday service, say like your ushers, you can actually have assignments. So it's 2 layers within the scheduler. There's also some other great benefits around how you can add people in mass, reminders that go out automatically. It's got a lot of the same great benefits of our legacy tool that include some of the sub request features and things like that. So it's a really powerful tool. I notice we probably need to create some videos or have a separate webinar about that when it launches, because there are some really great benefits around the new volunteer scheduler. And so that, we'll be sending out more information on that before it goes live for everybody. So I think that's all the time we've got, Haley, right?
Yes. Yep. Well, we thank you all so very much for taking the time to spend with us with these webinars, and we'll be getting the recording out, and we'll get the slides out for you as well.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great, safe holiday weekend. Happy 4th of July. Bye.